Sunday nights across the West Midlands. The West Midlands Football Podcast is here. The championship season is at an end. We will be discussing it and looking back at the weekend in the Premier League over the course of the next 60 minutes or so. You're with me, Ben Ellis, and Jonathan Wimbush is with us this evening. Hi, Jonathan.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm good. Gav, not with us. Gav got married on Friday. Which congratulations to Gav. It was a bit of a bombshell as far as I'm concerned. I'm not that I'm disapproving of the wedding, I should say. I've got no issue there, but it was a bit of a okay, fair enough, Gav. But apparently it went well, and he's doing just got married things. We will leave it at that.
Congrats, Gav. Congrats.
We will get on with our discussions. We'll come to the Premier League a bit later, but as the Championship season finished over the course of the weekend, we will discuss that now, and we're going to start with Birmingham City, and we could just waffle on as we normally do about Blues and say the same thing, but there are potentially big things happening at St Andrews in the offing, and we thought we'd get an expert on to talk about it, and I'm hoping to goodness this works as far as our technology is concerned. Joining us on the line right now is the commentator on Birmingham City for BHBN Radio, who provide commentary to the wards of all Birmingham and Solihull hospitals, and at Blues, commentary for visually impaired fans in the stadium. It's my colleague Kim Smith. Kim, hi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Are you glad it's over for the season?
Yeah, sort of. You know, it's well, as it always is as Blues, it's been a bit of a funny old season. Only half a ground for fans to sit in, and you know, yet more shenanigans with the owners. But obviously, there's going to be a bit more about that later.
2-1 defeat on the pitch to Blackburn Rovers. The way the season panned out, if Reading and Derby hadn't had their points deducted, Blues would have stayed up on goal difference. So I don't know if you're looking for kind of small mercies there. Blues, by rights, are still in the Championship, and on results, that's how that has worked out. I think you've probably been there for all but one of the home games this season doing commentary, because I filled in for you one week, and that was against Hull, which to be honest with you, Kim, looking back over the season, and I look at these kind of things objectively, I had to sit through those 90 minutes against Hull, and I honestly, just from watching football, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, it's been so variable. What hasn't helped as well is that there was a raft of injuries. At one point, Blues were fielding teams that didn't have a proper defender in them. First keeper, Matthias Arkic, is on loan from Wolves. He dislocated his shoulder. And then Neil Etheridge came in, and Neil Etheridge ended up with a really nasty concussion injury in the game against Nottingham Forest. So there's been all sorts of misfortune with injuries as well, which really, really hasn't helped things.
Absolutely. So on the field, it was a final day of the season kind of stuff. Two really good goals for Blackburn, which are as good a two goals as you'll probably see in the Championship this season. They were really well sort of taking goals. But the stories were following the game. As soon as the final whistle went, you can't really call it a pitch invasion because there probably weren't enough people in the stadium to call it an invasion, but enough fans got on the field waving blue smoke around with a banner that was on the far side of the field from where the camera is, which points up to the director's box, which is in the cop stand. Did you get any word, Kim? Because I didn't see this. Did you get any word on what the banner actually said?
Right. Well, the thing that a lot of the Blues fans have been hashtagging for most of the season was BSHL out, which of course is Birmingham Sports Holdings Limited, which are the sort of parent owner company. Although who the actual parent owners are has never been particularly clear. And if you want a lot more detail on that, online you'll find a guy called Dan Ivory who has written a lot of very, very well researched stuff about all the ownership debacle. He regularly goes to Hong Kong and Cambodia on fact-finding missions. And in fact, he wrote a book about the Carson Young era called Haircuts and League Cups, which is a very interesting read. And there have been various protests at other times in the season. There was a protest march from the city centre out to the ground. There's been one or two protests in the ground, people with banners, people sort of surrounding the director's box in the ground. There was one where people were wearing a lot of faceless masks to sort of, indicate the faceless owners. And then also in one game, we had loads and loads of tennis balls thrown on the pitch as well. So I didn't have any advance word that there was going to be a protest, but I really wasn't surprised. I think I was actually expecting something to happen.
Thankfully, it seemed to pass off rather peacefully, and it didn't get aggressive in terms of on the pitch. There was some sort of tannoy announcements asking the fans to please leave the field, and there was a refusal to do that, and they were making their point. But I didn't get the sense at all that it got out of hand watching the pictures. I mean, we move on in the next 24 hours or so with the current owners, depending on what happens. What we do know is that Lee Bowyer is due to sit down with them to discuss the future, whether it's his future, whether it's the owner's future, the future of the club moving forward. In your opinion, having watched the team, Kim, where do you feel that Lee Bowyer stands?
Oh, it's a difficult one. I mean, 47 points and 11 wins over the season. It's clear that's not awfully good. Lee Bowyer has been very clear in recent interviews that he feels he was sold a pup by the club, who made him a lot of promises and then never kept them. For yet another season, Blues have had to largely keep going on loan signings, which isn't the way to sort of put a team together that's going to win many games. So I must admit, I'm of the opinion it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Lee Bowyer isn't the greatest manager in the world, but I suspect he could have done better if he'd had some better backing from the club. And then also going on in the background, there were rumours about fallings out between Lee Bowyer and Craig Gardner, although we've never got to the bottom of that, whether we ever will, because at such time either or both of them move on from the club, they'll of course end up signing non-disclosure agreements. So we won't get to hear much about that until maybe much later on down the line. It wouldn't. This is one of these only at Blues scenarios. But just forgive me a moment. Of course, in theory, tomorrow the current owners could sack Lee Bowyer or agree some sort of mutual severance or whatever. Because one of the other rumours is that they haven't actually got the money to pay him off to sack him. but that's just another rumour. Now, if they do sack him tomorrow, they could appoint their own manager. Now, if rumours are to be believed, the club could be in other ownership very soon. Those new owners coming in could want their own man. So, in theory, you could get a scenario at Blues where a manager gets the sack without a ball being kicked in anger. But, it's Birmingham City and we're a bin fire.
Yeah, that would be classic Blues, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm trying to look at the positives here. First of all, in terms of the season, the start was decent, wasn't it? Remember that 1-0 victory at Sheffield United on the opening night, and got a couple of results, and then I think Tae Chong got that injury, didn't he? And then it kind of like that put kind of the mockers on it, and then it kind of drifted on, but. Is it fair to argue, Kim, that but for the decent January transfer window that Blues had, which doesn't normally happen under this ownership, that they had a very good window? It could have been a lot worse, couldn't it? Because the window freshened it up in and around just after January, and they just about scraped enough points together.
Yes, absolutely, because we bought in Bakuna, who's been very good. He's very lively, quick on the ball. He can score. He can provide assists, which is really good. And the other one who I think has been very good, who came in, in fact, two, Onel Hernandez from Norwich, who's excellent, fast, very strong, good goal scorer, great at holding the ball up and winning your corners when you think there's nothing else can be done near the byline. And then, of course, also Lyle Taylor from Nottingham Forest, who really sort of made himself popular with the fans, because he got the fans and he got the club. And funny enough, while there were people running all over the pitch yesterday, Lyle Taylor was there taking selfies with kids.
Yeah.
So he's obviously very laid back about it all, and he would be a player I would like to see come to Blues. I know there's rumours about the wage demands, but I think we're moving on a bunch of high wage players in the near future. So it's possible, but it would be really nice to see him as part of the club, because he's obviously, not figuring much in Steve Cooper's plans at the moment as Forest march on to the playoffs.
And I think he's a good example, Lyle Taylor, Kim, isn't he, of what you can achieve if you act with a bit of professionalism when you come into a situation, because it was well documented. He had issues with Lee Bowyer while they were both at Charlton. But he came in to Birmingham City in January. Okay, we've got a job to do. I remember him interviewed after his debut, which I think ended up being a draw, but Blues conceded in the last minute or something. And he did the after match interview on the radio, and it struck me straight away. Oh, okay, he gets it. This is a Blues player. He gets what this is about, and he's got this kind of instant connection with the fans, and that's what Blues is about, isn't it? You're not expecting Brazil 1970 kind of standards to come in. You just want people who come in who get it, who understand what it's about, who think the way you guys think, and we're all the same like that in the West Midlands, really, to be honest. But moving forward, I mean, there are a lot of rumours going around. The one that we're going to focus on is the report that came out yesterday from probably the most respected man in terms of written journalism on Birmingham City, which is Neil Moxley of the Birmingham Mail. Yeah. Now, he has gone public with what he's found out to be the story that a takeover is very close with a single British party, as opposed to what's been going on, and everything's kind of shrouded in mystery. Now, having followed West Midlands football for the best part of 25 years, Kim, there's a select few people, and this is regards to all of our teams here, where when a rumour's going around, I don't tend to believe that until I've heard a certain somebody say it on the radio, or I've seen somebody write it in the Birmingham Mail, and Neil Moxley falls into that category for me. So without wanting to sort of get your hopes up too much, because I think it is the hope that kind of kills you. You've got to feel that he wouldn't have gone public unless there was something substantial in this.
Yeah, I mean, he's, historically, he's pretty good at keeping his powder dry. And also, interestingly, Moxley is saying that the people he knows about who are interested in the club are not the people whose names are popping up in the media, the likes of Maxi Lopez and Lawrence Bassini. And he's saying he wants to keep quiet who this prospective person is. But I think the important thing for the fans is that the person who is, allegedly looking at buying the club is also interested in doing things like acquiring the stadium back, because, of course, as with other clubs who've ended up being basket cases, we've ended up not owning our own ground. And also they have the cash to sort out the stadium, the estimated costs of which are £3 to £5 million. And that is such an important thing. It's affected the atmosphere at St Andrews terribly this season. And also, of course, there's the uncomfortable thought that some of those people who haven't been able to go for this last season, and actually indeed the season before because of COVID, are they going to come back again? Whoever does buy the club is going to have to woo a lot of people back.
That's absolutely true. And we'll have to see. Yes, please do, Jonathan. Come in.
If I can butt in then, Ben, that goes for away fans as well, because I understand there was less, for Birmingham against West Bromwich Albion at St Andrews, there was only less than 2,000 tickets allocated for the Albion fans. And of course, not everyone from Albion could get a ticket. So the question goes for away supporters as well. Would they want to go to Birmingham away because of the state of St Andrews at the moment? But that's just from an away supporter's point of view.
Can I put a positive spin on that though, Jonathan, from a Blues point of view? To hear away fans say we don't want to go to St Andrews, that should be music to a Blues fan's ears, because that is what Birmingham City are all about, right? If you go back when the place was full and when it was rocking, Alex Ferguson said that was the ground he hated going to most with Manchester United. That's what Birmingham City are all about. Backs to the wall. Nobody likes us. We don't care. The Millwall of the Midlands, if you like. Not in terms of. No, I don't mean that in a bad way, Kim. What I'm saying is that's where they're at their best. Where they struggle is where it's just allowed to meander along and just drift along, and that's what we've started to see. That's what we've certainly seen over the last sort of 5 years. Certainly, the best part of the last decade since the Carling Cup win and relegation from the Premier League. And in fact, if anything, to say that a decade on from that, with everything that's gone on, Birmingham City are still in the Championship. That's almost miraculous, quite frankly. So,
considering how many times in recent seasons we spent the last couple of months of the season circling the drain. I mean, obviously the big one was 2014 when they did the great escape against Bolton.
That's right.
But it's been dodgy so many times, and since the Carling Cup win, it's been downhill, in depressing regularity.
Yeah, that's right. But let's hope they can move forward and get on a sound footing. Say any change that's going to happen, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to be interesting to see how it sort of plays out. Whatever happens, be realistic. You're not going to get as excited as Newcastle fans are, for instance. But it's going to have to be put on an even keel and gradually build up to where they ultimately want to get to. that's not necessarily the Premier League. Of course, the Premier League's the promised land. They want to get back to enjoying their football at 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon. That's what they want to do, and they want to feel like the club is in a secure position. And anything from there, they'll take. It's a bonus, and it's what they've been shockingly for me deprived of for the best part of the last decade. But Kim, your work is done. For the season, just a mention, because it's sort of an interesting thing. I know what happens, and you know what happens, but the service that's provided by BHBM Radio at St Andrews, not only for the wards across Birmingham and Solihull, but also for the visually impaired supporters inside the ground. That, as far as I know, that's a very unique service. It doesn't happen at Villa. It doesn't happen at West Brom, and it's a great thing that you do, and it's a wonderful service.
Yes, indeed, and it is really good to just be part of it all. Absolutely.
So enjoy your summer, Kim, and I'm sure I'll speak to you next season and what have you. Fascinating stuff, and I'm not going to say, but I'm not going to say keep right on, because I can't. But I can't bring myself to do that. But even though I have technically just said it, but there we go.
Give us a if we get any more about the takeover and you want to chat about it.
Excellent. Well, as I say, we've got a couple more weeks of this show to go while we cover the Premier League. But if anything does break, obviously, we will get you on there for sure. But for now, thank you very much indeed, Kim Smith.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, Kim Smith there. Okay, John, just fascinating stuff, and to get a perspective on what the situation is with Birmingham City.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could say a lot of stuff about Birmingham City as supporters of rival clubs, but we don't actually know like the ins and outs of what's actually going on at St Andrews. I mean, Kim there mentioning like Lee Bowyer and Craig Gardner and Gary Gardner and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to hear Kim speak there. I was just sitting here listening, and I've learned a lot about what's going on at Birmingham City right now. So yeah, I mean, we're in the same league next season regardless, and in a way, I'm happy that Birmingham haven't been relegated this season, because I always look forward to the local derbies. So that's another 2 games next season that I'm going to be looking forward to, the Birmingham games. And yeah, I mean, good luck to Birmingham with all their off-field stuff, and hope to see them in the mix next season as well.
Absolutely. It's the West Midlands Football Podcast here on this Sunday evening across Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. You can have your say as well. Got a couple of comments coming here. Which is great. West Brom Fan TV.
Yeah,
said hello, Jonathan. Up the Albion.
It's Connor. I speak to him a lot. So yeah, welcome, okay. Connor. Welcome, Connor.
Connor, welcome along. We're coming to you a lot now, as we're still in the Championship. Final day of the season, 4-0 victory against Barnsley. It's nice to win, obviously, but it's against a team that sort of finished rock bottom. Could have been 5-0. Carlin Grant missed a penalty, having scored one earlier in the game. But we talked about sort of the issues going on with West Brom for weeks, sort of on end, not just on this podcast, but on the National Box to Box podcast as well. So what I'm going to do, Jonathan, I'm going to put you in the shoes of Steve Bruce, right?
Right.
And I'm going to go through the squad at West Bromwich Albion, and we'll do this as quickly as possible. Forget money, okay? Money's not the issue. It's just a case of who you kind of want in your squad for next season. So right now, I've got a list of the players who are out of contract as of June 30th, effectively. Well, from May 31st, Matt Clark is out of contract. So but we'll come to him in just a moment. So let go or offer a new deal, first of all. So Sam Johnston.
Let go, because he's already, I think, in the line for Spurs. So I think he's likely to be going to Spurs. There's probably nothing that Albion can do about it. So Sam Johnston, let go. And David Button has been doing well in his place anyway, so I would let Sam Johnston go.
Okay, we just mentioned him, Matt Clark.
Matt Clark, I'd keep. I'd offer a new deal. He did phenomenally well yesterday. Man of the match for me. And he was also the supporters' player of the season for the Albion. So yeah, I'd keep Matt Clark.
Okay, right. Andy Carroll, we know because it was announced he is being let go, and you've kind of already answered the question because the other player that's out of contract on the 30th of June is David Button.
Yeah, I'd keep David Button.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So players who are out of contract at the end of the 2022-23 season, which means that if you were to move them on now, you could get a fee for them, whether it's a case of trying to make money or not, or do you keep them and just let the contracts run out? So first of all, Semi Ajayi.
Semi Ajayi I'd keep. To be honest, he's been, aside from Matt Clark, he's been one of the better defenders comparatively to the likes of Carl Bartley and other defenders. He has made some mistakes, some misplaced passes, but in the overall context of things, I'd keep Semi Ajayi.
Dara O'Shea.
Now he hasn't had much game time this season, because of the injury he suffered against Portugal. So he's been out for quite a chunk of the season. So he's he might not have been match fit completely all season, but yeah, I'd actually take a chance on Dara O'Shea, to be honest.
Right, next to it, interesting. Kyle Bartley.
I'll let go.
Do you think you get a fee for him? This is why it's interesting, because he's now 30 years old.
Yeah.
And do you see? Obviously, he's not going to go to the Premier League, but do you see Championship clubs lining up to take Kyle Bartley now for a fee?
I would honestly see the likes of Cardiff taking him, to be honest.
Right.
Similar
now, Jake Livermore.
Yeah. Jake Livermore, he's
Jake Livermore.
Yeah, he's our captain. It's a bit of a weird one, but in the context of things, there's been a few red cards this season. His discipline's not exactly been there, so it might be controversial. Not all Albion fans might agree with me, but I'd let Jake Livermore go. Honestly,
interesting as well. Yeah. If Jake Livermore were to stay.
Yeah.
If Jake Livermore were to stay, though, would Steve Bruce take the club captaincy off him, given the disciplinary problems? Because Steve Bruce had just come in, so he might reset it all.
Yeah, he's been given a number of red cards this season, put us on the back foot, and where we really should have been, collecting points and winning games. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough one with Jake Livermore, with the fact he's the club captain, but all those red cards,
Okay, player I'm not too familiar with, Keane Bryan, defender.
Keane Bryan, he hasn't had a lot of game time, so I'm not too sure. I would probably give him a chance, give him a run in the first team, but I haven't seen a lot of him, to be honest.
Okay, 25 years old, so in the prime of his career, so he probably does need a, if you're letting players like Semi Ajayi go, then he'd probably be one that would probably come in.
Yeah.
Kenneth Zohore.
Kenneth Zohore, again, haven't seen a lot of him, and the games that I have seen him, as a striker, he's supposed to be like an impact player, and he's been overshadowed in a way by Grant Robinson and even Andy Carroll. So I'm not too sure about Kenneth Zohore. I'd probably let him go, to be honest.
And another goalkeeper, Alex Palmer, who presumably, if you're letting Sam Johnston go and you're promoting David Button up to number one, he would be your number two. So
he would be number two. He's been on the bench a number of times. Yeah. Yeah. So I'd keep Alex Palmer.
One more with these. Okay, one more set with these. The players whose contracts are up in 2024. So you could get all of next season with them and then move them on, or you can move them on now. Poor lad. Alex Mowat.
Oh boy, Alex Mowat. He's had his moments, like the goal against Cardiff, the 30-yarder. But then, there's been games where he hasn't had much of an impact. But, I would probably keep Alex Moat, give him like next season and then see where we go, for the season after. So I'd probably keep him for now.
Scorer of the second goal on Saturday, I think, against Barnsley, Adam Reach.
Adam Reach. Well, I was there for the game, and that was absolute Route 1 football. I would keep Adam Reach, because it's his first goal for the Albion. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more. He just needs to get a little bit more control on the ball at times. There was a few times this season where he let the ball get away from him, or he was easily tackled. But that goal against Barnsley on Saturday, it didn't hurt his cause, to be honest, and it was a great goal. It was probably the pick of the four for me, to be honest. So I'd keep Adam Reach. Cedric
Kipre.
Kipre's a bit of a tough one. He's been a bench warmer as of late, to be honest. So he'll be great as backup, but at the moment, nothing more. Probably keep him just as backup in case of injuries.
Okay, young lad here, Ryan Tulloch. He could be on the fringes of making the first team as a striker, perhaps.
Yeah, I would give him a run out, especially with us losing Andy Carroll. I would definitely see what Tulloch can do. He has had a couple of cup games for us, and he did well. They were both against Premier League opposition, Arsenal in the Carabao Cup and Brighton in the FA Cup, and he did really well with those. So yeah, at the moment he's just a cup player for the Albion, but with a club like Albion, there's not many cup games, so I'd give him a run out in the first team, to be honest.
And 19-year-old centre half Caleb Taylor.
Yeah, Caleb Taylor. He's he's been on the bench as of late. Hasn't had a proper run out in the first team. So yeah, I'd give Caleb Taylor a chance. Keep him.
Now this is interesting, right? This is why I've left this one till last. For the players who've got 2024, so 2 years left on a contract at the current age of 31. Matt Phillips. Now, who drew that contract up, right? Who is giving somebody on Premier League money tied down to a contract that pretty much for this season and the next two seasons, having coming down last season, will wipe out the parachute payments, which we talked about on the Box to Box podcast. Matt Phillips, decent player in the Championship, getting on in age. That's ridiculous business, John. I'm sorry. That's just... Yeah,
I mean,
that's clueless.
Yeah, not sure who did it for that length. I mean, Matt Phillips, he is still a good player. He's still got a little bit of pace, but as you said, age is against him. But yeah, I'd see what happens next season with Matt Phillips, and then if it's not good enough, then move him on at the end of next season. But he's been at Albion for quite some time now, so yeah.
Yeah, and again, there are 4 players who are contracted up to 2025, right? Grady Diangana, Callum Robertson, Darnell Furlong, and Connor Townsend. These are regular first-team players of a team which largely anybody who talks about West Bromwich Albion agrees needs completely freshing up.
Yeah.
3 years these players are tied down for. And market value, according to the website transfermarket.co.uk, has Grady Diangana at 7.2 million, Callum Robinson at 5.4 million, 4.5 million Darnell Furlong, and 2.25 million Connor Townsend. So I don't know. Again, Steve Bruce has got to look at this.
Yeah.
Steve Bruce has got to look at this, and he's got to assess it. If obviously you can't get rid of everybody, and it does need it does need refreshing and stuff like that. And maybe with a sort of a good look at them in a decent preseason, he can have a look.
Yeah.
But
I like Furlong and Townsend though. I mean, we had all that reputation of being a long throw specialist, especially at the start of the season. The whole tailgate thing, and it was funny to us because every other team in the Championship was like, they're using a towel, they're drying the ball, they're launching it, and they're scoring against us. Well, that's football. We try every trick in the book, to be honest. But yeah, I like the way Darnell and Connor, play for the Albion. So I would honestly keep those two. In terms of Grady Diangana, Callum Robinson, I mean, Callum Robinson has been getting a lot of stick off the fans lately, like pulling out of challenges where he was more likely to get the ball, and it's basically, so he has had a bit of stick for that. I mean, when we got promoted to the Premier League 2 seasons ago, he was literally the first one that celebrated with fans, even though it was in the middle of COVID. But yeah, I mean, he just needs to, make better use of his game, so to speak. So Callum Robinson's a difficult one. There's Albion fans who still like him. There's Albion fans who are saying get him out. So Callum Robinson is 50-50. As with Grady Diangana, he was great when he came from West Ham. Even the West Ham fans weren't happy when they sold him to us. I believe, if I remember rightly, their club captain, Mark Noble, had a bit of a opinion on it. But in the long term, I mean, he's had injuries, so I'm not too sure. He's just getting back to fitness. To be honest, he did pretty decent for us yesterday against Barnsley. So again, I'd keep Furlong, I'd keep Townsend, and it's 50-50 with Callum Robinson and Grady Diangana, to be honest.
Overall, looking at the season, assessing it all like we did with Kim talking about Blues a little while ago, you obviously can't be satisfied with the campaign.
No, I've gone into loads of fan interviews this weekend and podcasts, and it's basically the common theme is describe your season in one sentence, and all I've said are 3 words: could do better. It's we finished 10th on 67 points. We're like 7 points off the playoffs, 7 points off Luton. Yeah, and for a team like us to be beaten in the season overall by a team like Luton, no disrespect to them, is pretty embarrassing. I mean, we've even got Millwall finishing ahead of us. And again, no disrespect to Millwall, but that's pretty embarrassing for a club like West Bromwich Albion. It's our lowest league finish for as far as I can remember, to be honest. So yeah, it is for a team that was expected to be right in the mix with promotion, automatic or playoffs, to finish 10th is a bit of an embarrassment for West Bromwich Albion, to be honest.
So, depending on what happens over the summer, you're looking at least the playoffs again next season. That should be the aim, or should you be looking at automatic?
To be honest, as Albion fans, we're expecting at least the playoffs. To be honest, it's we're expecting a top 6 finish next season. I mean, Steve Bruce has already identified targets. Can't remember what those targets are at the moment. I think there's a couple from Blackburn, I believe he's looking at. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I mean, I've been speaking to a lot of Albion fans this weekend, both at the Hawthorns and away from the stadium. And it's a case of next season, we must finish top 6. If we don't finish top 6 next season, then we're staring down the barrel of a Leeds situation where we didn't get promoted for like 16 years.
Does the style of football matter next season, or just get there?
Just get there, to be honest. Just get results, beat teams that on paper we should be beating, because that's been a lot of our problem this season. We've been beaten by the likes of Luton, by the likes of Millwall, by the likes of Preston, teams that we should be beating, they were beating us 2-0. And that was a scoreline in every one of those games at the Hawthorns. And even the 0-0 draw the other week against Coventry, we really should be beating Coventry. And again, that's no disrespect to Coventry, but there wasn't enough of that happening this season, of teams that on paper we should be stronger against. We just weren't beating.
It's the West Midlands Football Podcast here on this Sunday evening. Looking back at the weekend's action, the regular season is done and dusted in the Championship. We're moving up into the Premier League now, and I must admit, I was a happy bunny yesterday. After events at Turf Moor, Villa coming away with reasonably comfortable 3-1 victory. Now, I've got to be honest here, Jonathan. I wasn't fearing the worst, but I was a little bit sort of twitchy, given the run that Burnley had been on since Michael Jackson had took over from Sean Dyche. Well, that's a side joke. I did find it funny. I did find it funny when somebody said on Twitter, Michael Jackson, never heard of him. I go, really?
Yeah.
but that anyway. But I thought we might get bullied at Turf Moor yesterday. I'd seen enough evidence to see that Villa are rather easy to play against teams who are aggressive and are on the front foot. I was just a bit worried that we might get sort of rolled over. Yeah, not a bit of it. It was terrific from the first whistle. Sort of Villa were at it, and Steven Gerrard had a game plan, and they bossed it from start to finish, really. And what I liked, and what I hadn't seen as yet under Steven Gerrard, mainly due to circumstances, really, in the pre-game, when you see the players sort of line up in the tunnel. Obviously, Turf Moor is sort of very cramped and sort of compact. So the Villa players were sort of on the stairs waiting to go out. And the camera caught Steven Gerrard at the back of the line, and then coming down the stairs at the side of him. And he was patting each player on the back, and he was like geeing them up as you go. And I'm thinking, yeah, I like this. I got a good feeling about him today. Because then the manager goes out first at Turf Moor and then goes across the pitch to the far side. It's one of the grounds where the changing rooms is behind one of the goals, so it's kind of a long way for them to go. And normally for a home game, you'd see the players come out, and then the manager would walk along the touchline at Villa Park to the dugout. But you actually saw him giving his G up, and I thought, yep, okay, I've got a better feeling about this than I had in the build up, in the build up this week. So
yeah.
They were good. They were good from start to finish yesterday. Danny Ings against his former club. Buendia, who, to be honest, his attitude I can't praise enough. It would be very easy for him to have thought when Coutinho came in that he could have said, "Well, hang on, I'm the record signing here, and I was bought in to replace the guy who's just left for 100 million quid." And all of a sudden we've got to change a manager. And Philippe Coutinho's walked through the door. You could see, well, what about me? He's been terrific. Yeah. He's got his head down and he's worked his socks off, and he's now starting to get his just rewards. And he dominated the match yesterday. He pulled the strings and he made things happen. Slotted beautifully into that number 10 role. It has to be Ings and Watkins up front together. I think we've got to play with the two. I think we're better when we play with the two.
Yeah.
And I mean, nice easy game on Tuesday night, Liverpool at home, nothing to fear or fret about there. But I sat there 5 o'clock yesterday thinking, well, apart from conceding in stoppage time to ruin the clean sheet, but no complaints. Happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that early goal settled any nerves, to be honest, from Danny Ings. As you said, Buendia did absolutely phenomenal. Ollie Watkins grabbed yet another goal to go with the one he had against Norwich, I believe it was, the previous game. I mean, Aston Villa, I kind of expected you to beat Burnley. But the way that it was very composed, very organised. And I mean, from a Burnley point of view, looking at today's results as well, bit of a mixed bag from their point of view with Leeds losing, but Everton winning. So it's kind of a mixed bag in terms of other results for Burnley. But yeah, I mean, all credit to Villa for getting that 3-1 victory yesterday. I mean, what more can you say? Almost the perfect performance, as you said. Burnley scored in extra time, not extra time, stoppage time. And yeah, I mean, other than that, yeah, the way Steven Gerrard was, because I seen that as well, the way Gerrard was G'ing up the players was similar to how he G'd up the players as Liverpool captain. Bar from the infamous Slipgate, but it was very similar the way he was doing that. It was almost like he was Liverpool captain again, G'ing up Villa's players. But yeah, it was really good to watch. And even then, because I managed to grab some of it like after our game, because ours was like early kickoff.
That's right.
So I managed to grab some of that after the game, and Aston Villa was really, really clinical.
Yeah, and it was good to see. And I'm a great believer in, if you finish one season strongly, you've got a good chance of starting the next season strongly.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And I think that's important. Yes, it's Liverpool on Tuesday, and they go to Manchester City on the last day. But in between those two home games, Burnley again, and Crystal Palace next Sunday, which I'm going to be at, which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, if they can finish the season strongly, I think. Well, we talked about rumours earlier with Kim about Blues. You see it, and a lot of it. I think a lot of it's clickbait journalism on social media just to get you to click on the story and stuff. But 10 players Villa could realistically sign. Steven Gerrard got 8 signings lined up. 6 players that are coming into. Well, it's sort of whittling down and down and down to nobody knows. Steven Gerrard knows, and I think Christian Puzzle where they're going to go. And we talked about with West Brom who goes, who stays.
Yeah,
I think there will be some. I think the likes of probably, like we mentioned, Wendy and John McGinn. I think that they're not going to convince Steven Gerrard that he wants to keep them around. Sign another striker as a backup. If he's going to go 2 up front, maybe even bring Cameron Archer back from Preston, who's had a really good season on loan. So it's looking much more positive than it was a couple of weeks ago, which is
absolutely
which is very good. Wolves had a good fight back at Chelsea on Saturday. Of course, all the stories about Chelsea's takeover now going through. We talked about that on the Box to Box podcast on Tuesday. There was some doubt and some jeopardy, but that now has been sorted, and a $4.5 billion takeover of Chelsea has gone through. They'd found themselves 2-0 up to goals from Lukaku. Wolves staring down the barrel. Have not been playing well in recent weeks, but they dug deep, and with a last-second goal from Connor Cody, came away from Stamford Bridge with a point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been following Chelsea a lot, as obviously my sister supports Chelsea. So, I've been following Chelsea, this story with the takeover and Abramovich and everything like that for the Box to Box. And yeah, I mean, Lukaku, former West Bromwich Albion player, hasn't done much all season, and then pops up with 2 goals against Wolves, almost like he was an Albion player again. And yeah, I mean, one of the Chelsea fans who are on YouTube that I follow a lot, he's nicknamed Chelsea Charity FC, because they seem to be doing this a lot lately, and it could cost them 3rd place in the table, especially with Arsenal winning today. Basically, they go 2-0 up, or they're ahead in the game, and then they suddenly give away these stupid goals from their opinion, and it's like they've done it again. And I seen the reaction of this particular Chelsea fan on YouTube, and he's basically like, it's Charity FC all over again, because it was typical. From what I've heard, it's typical Chelsea at the moment. They go ahead and then they throw the lead away. They did it against Arsenal. when Arsenal beat them 4-2. So yeah, I don't think the Chelsea fans are particularly happy with on-field or off-field stuff at the moment. But I've got to say, and it pains me to say, really, all credit to Wolves for showing the character to fight back. After an hour, 2-0 down, and they managed to grab a valuable point. Whether that point affects the European places has yet to be seen. They're currently 2 points behind West Ham in 7th. But yeah, I mean, West Ham have been doing well as well. So that point would be really valuable to Wolves. And, I mean, as I said, Chelsea must be really annoyed that they gave away a 2-goal lead.
It's actually now 5 points behind West Ham. West Ham winning 4-0 at Norwich today.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. But Wolves have a game in hand. That is against Manchester City, which is on Wednesday. They host Norwich next Sunday, and then they go to Liverpool on the final day of the season. So they're really looking for, if they're dead set on getting 7th place, they're looking at West Ham slipping up, really.
Yeah,
which is but as I say, that's for Gav once he's sorted with his honeymoon to tell us about on a future program. Box to Box podcast will be on Tuesday, all being well, with the West Midlands Football Podcast right now from Birmingham TV. Myself, Ben Ellis, and Jonathan Wimbush looking back at the weekend's action. It was the final day of the season in League Two as well. On Saturday, Walsall losing 3-0 to Port Vale. As far as that's concerned, no, there wasn't Port Vale. It was Swindon. It was Swindon. Sorry,
yeah.
It was Swindon. They took a pasting at Swindon recently as well, 5-0. So they'll be glad that. Have Swindon gone up automatically?
They're in the playoffs.
They're in the playoffs.
They're
so they'll be hoping
Port Vale in the playoffs.
Yeah, they'll be hoping that Swindon go up, that they don't have to play them again next season. So the way it's looking at Walsall now, we've been speaking in recent weeks about. We think they made a very good appointment in Michael Flynn for League Two, and he's got some very clear ideas on what he wants to do with the squad, which is all very encouraging. And he's been quite frank with a few of them that he doesn't want them. It's not a case of saying they're not going to be here. He doesn't want them. He doesn't want them around, which I thought was interesting. The other big news is that the Banks's Stadium is no more. The sponsorship deal has come to an end with Walsall Football Club, and they're getting the Bescott name back for next season, but it's going to be prefaced with Poundland, who have done a big sponsorship. It will be the Poundland Bescott Stadium for next season. Now, Poundland's a big brand, right?
It is.
Poundland, other discount retail stores are available for the sake of broadcasting law, which we've got to say right now. But Poundland is a good brand, and for Walsall to have associated them with that, it's a brand that everybody knows, that everybody recognises. That's a good bit of business, I think, to have got Poundland on board for sponsorship.
Yeah, I believe one of their main distribution centres is in nearby Wednesbury, which is very close to Walsall. So yeah, I mean. From a footballing point of view, they've finished 16th. If it weren't for the appointment, they could have been heavily involved in the relegation battle, but they managed to get a couple of results. Okay, the 2 games against Swindon weren't exactly their best. I mean, Swindon, again, like chasing promotion. They've managed to get into the playoffs, as I said. They're against Port Vale, with the other one being Northampton against Mansfield. So that's going to be interesting. In terms of promotion to League One. But yeah, Walsall on 54 points, 16th, nice mid-table finish, no danger of relegation. And, you wouldn't say that before the new manager came in. And yeah, I mean, like you said, Poundland, big, well-known company within the country. And yeah, all the revenue that comes from that sponsorship deal will really help the Saddlers, to be honest. I go to a few of their games, like when Albion's not playing, and they haven't been the best of games, but it's the future's looking bright for Walsall. You know, they've got this season out the way, mid-table, keep, you know, stay in the football pyramid, and yeah, good luck to Walsall next season, to be honest.
While we're on the subject of League Two, the dramatic turnaround between Bristol Rovers and Northampton on Saturday. And for anybody who doesn't know this or isn't caught up, at half-time, Bristol Rovers were leading Scunthorpe by 2-0. Scunthorpe already relegated out of the pyramid. And Northampton were 3-1 up in their game and had secured that final automatic promotion place. It was going to take a further 5-goal swing to take Northampton out of the automatic promotion places and for Bristol Rovers to get it. It finished 7-0 to Bristol Rovers. Now, I think this match is going to go down in history. And I don't think we've heard the last of it, actually, Jonathan, because at the scoring of the 7th goal at the Memorial Stadium, there was a pitch invasion.
Yeah.
And it took about 20 minutes to get the game restarted. And the crowd were warned by the referee, if you do not leave the field, this game will be abandoned. So they would have lost their automatic promotion had the referee abandoned it. You know, even Joey Barton, the manager of Bristol Rovers, is appealing for calm. The further question, and this might, I don't want to preempt what our producers think on the Box to Box podcast, but there is a suspicion that Scunthorpe blooded a load of youth team players in the game, having already been relegated to the National League, which I believe Northampton are not happy about in terms of, and that brings the whole integrity of the league kind of thing into question. As I say, I'm not sure we've heard the last of this.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I believe it happened a few years ago with Huddersfield. Ironically, their final day was with Birmingham, I believe. But if Birmingham had won, then someone else would have got relegated instead of Blues. And they had already consolidated playoff spots, Huddersfield did, and they eventually won that playoff tournament to go into the Premier League.
I remember. Yeah.
But the same thing was happening there, and the team that got, I can't remember who it was, but the team that got relegated was saying, well, how come Huddersfield didn't field a full-strength squad against Birmingham? For want of a better word, Birmingham had it easy to win that game to send us down. So it's not the first time that this has happened, and it probably won't be the last. I mean, it's a tough one to take. It's down to the FIA to see if any underhandedness occurred with the what was it? The Northampton team.
What's that got to do with the Irish? Team? What's that got to do with the Irish FA?
Not the Irish FA.
You said the FIA. What's it got to do?
The FA. The FA.
Where'd the I come from?
I have no idea. The FA. It's been a long day. I'm tired.
There's two FIAs. Well, I think one of them runs. Doesn't one of them run Formula One as well?
Yes, they do.
Right. Okay. And you like Formula One. You like Formula One.
Yeah, I was mixing my words.
Okay. I got proper confused there. What I would say on that one is that and I understand that people would be upset about it, but Huddersfield in the 46th game had two important games that they needed to prepare for, so you could kind of see how they would rest some key players going into that. And again, I can understand where if you're on the receiving end, you wouldn't be happy about that. This was the last game of the season, and Scunthorpe were already relegated from the Football League. Yeah. So
maybe Scunthorpe were giving some of the kids a run out now that it was confirmed that nothing would come about whether they won, drew, or lost that game. Yeah. You know, you could argue that maybe the Scunthorpe manager was giving the kids a bit of a run out. So
maybe he'd promised them. Maybe he'd promised them. Maybe he'd said to them, "Look, you're going to get to play in the Football League at least once," and they're already. I don't know. There are arguments on all sides of things like this. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's the right of the manager, whoever manager is in charge of a team, to pick the team that he wants to pick. So, we'll see. It might run and run though. Just quickly, the National League, it's reaching a crescendo. We've been talking about this for weeks now. Solihull Moors are in third place in the National League. They've only got one game to go, and it looks like they're going to secure the second round of playoff places. So the way the National League works is that first place goes up automatically. That's flip-flopped today because Wrexham have beaten Stockport and have gone top of the table. So first place is automatic. Then second and third will play the two winners of the teams in fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So you have the advantage of you play one less round if you finish second or third in the playoffs, and that's where Solihull Moors want to be. Now, we've been talking about this for weeks. Dom Phillips and Gav Longthorne on the show are of the same opinion as me. It's an absolute crime that Solihull Moors aren't getting any national coverage as far as this is concerned, because it's an incredible story. If they get into the Football League from where they have come from, it would be absolutely fantastic.
It would be absolutely fantastic. They're only in third place by virtue of goal difference.
That's right.
To Halifax Town. So it's I mean, like you said, it's the fairy tale story, isn't it, for Solihull Moors? And I completely agree with you and Dom and Gav about them not getting enough coverage. I mean, the only coverage I've seen of Solihull Moors, to be honest, is when they was in the FA Cup against big name opposition, and that's focused on whoever they were playing, to be honest. I mean, Stockport County, they've been in the Premier League before. Notts County's involved in there as well. They went down last season, I believe. I mean, if Solihull Moors doesn't get promoted, then it's an absolute crime, as you said, to be honest.
Well, they got to Boreham Wood a week today on the final day of the season. Boreham Wood in 9th place. They still could sneak a playoff place, so they have got something to play for with a game in hand on it all. It's so tight. It's so tight. And we do absolutely, we wish them well in trying to get into the Football League, which would be absolutely wonderful. We have reached the end. Big thanks to Kim Smith, who joined us to talk about all things Birmingham City. You can hear her if you're on the wards of BHBN Radio, the hospital network, do coverage of Villa Blues and West Brom. She's the Birmingham City commentator, and she gave us great insight into the dealings at St Andrews and a review of the season. We talked about West Bromwich Albion finishing the Championship season, who Jonathan Wimbush would keep, who he would let go, as Steve Bruce is going to rebuild the squad. And we reviewed the action in the Premier League and League Two and the National League as well. The Box to Box National Podcast is happening this Tuesday from around 8 o'clock. Hopefully you can join us for that, and we will be back next Sunday to review a busy day of action in the Premier League. For Jonathan Wimbush, who you can find on Twitter at CrazyShadow303, myself at Ben Ellis1982. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and we will talk to you next Sunday.